by the end of the day.
I know that syntax sounds like a big confusing word, but it's really quite simple. Let's start with the definition of syntax.
In the English language, syntax is the order of words in a sentence.
But why is syntax important? Because we need to know how to structure our sentences the right way so that we can communicate well.
Take a look at the following sentence. Awesome Dr. Seuss is. Does that sound right? Well, how can we fix it?
Let's try moving awesome to the end of the sentence. Dr. Seuss is awesome. Now that makes more sense. Good job.
Yay!
Today, we'll go over the two main parts that make up a sentence. In the English language, most sentences are structured like this: a noun phrase plus a verb phrase. Now that we know the two main parts that make up a sentence, let's practice with a real sentence. The cat likes green eggs and ham. If you take a look at this sentence, you'll notice it's broken down into two main parts: the noun phrase, the cat, and the verb phrase, likes green eggs and ham. This sentence is the most basic sentence structure in the English language. It has one subject, a noun, and one verb. And because you're so smart, let's try adding some more parts to our phrases. Let's begin with a noun phrase.
A noun phrase must include, well, a noun.
Let's quickly review what a noun phrase is. Remember, a noun is a name of a person, a place, a thing, or a feeling.
What was the noun we used in the last sentence? The cat likes green eggs and ham. Well, if you guessed cat, then you're right.
In addition to just a noun phrase can also include a determiner, a quantifier, an adjective phrase, and a prepositional phrase.
Well, what is a determiner? A determiner is a reference word such as the, that, this, a, and an, like the Lorax and the Grinch.
A quantifier is a word that tells you how much. An easy way to find a quantifier is by asking yourself if it is a number. Let's take a look at Dr. Seuss's book, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. We know that 1 and 2 are quantifiers because they are numbers and they tell us how many fish. Sum is also a quantifier because it is giving us an amount, even if it isn't exact.
An adjective phrase is made up of words that describe a noun. If we look at the foot book, we can see all the adjectives that Dr. Seuss uses to describe feet. Wet foot, dry foot, low foot, high foot. You can come up with adjectives like these too.
Prepositional phrases are words that show a position or relation of space. We've already learned about prepositions, but let's look at green eggs and ham to see some examples. It says,
I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. Not in a box, not with a fox, not in a house, not with a mouse.
In a box, with a fox, in a house, with a mouse are all phrases that start with a preposition. They describe where and with whom Sam I am doesn't like to eat green eggs and ham.
Now, let's add these parts to our noun to make a more exciting noun phrase. Instead of just writing cat, we can say the one very tall cat in the hat. Let's break the sentence down and create a syntax tree.
Let's take a look at this syntax tree. As you'll notice, the determiner is the quantifier is 1, our adjective phrase is very tall, the noun is cat, and the prepositional phrase is in a hat. Remember, a noun phrase only has to include a noun. It can, but it doesn't have to include all of these other parts.
Now that we understand the first half of the sentence, let's take a closer look at the second part, the verb phrase.
The one thing a verb phrase must include is a verb.
Remember, verbs are action words like jump, hide, run, and play.
Now that we've reviewed verbs, let's play Find the Verb.
The cat likes green eggs and ham. Let's see if you can find the verb.
If you guessed likes, you were correct. Good job!
We can add more things to our verb phrase to make it even more fun. You can add a noun phrase, a prepositional phrase, and an adverb phrase.
When you put your noun phrase and your verb phrase together, this is what you come up with. The one very tall cat in the hat likes green eggs and ham in a house with a mouse very much. Wow, that was a long sentence. Give yourself a pat on the back because you're one step closer to becoming a syntax expert. Now let's try adding a few of those parts to our sentence to make it more exciting.
Let's take a look at the following sentence. The cat likes green eggs and ham in a house with a mouse very much.
Now let's take a minute to break down that sentence. In the sentence, the cat likes green eggs and ham in a house with a mouse very much. Our verb is likes. Our noun phrase is green eggs and ham. Our prepositional phrase is in a house with a mouse. And our adverb phrase is very much.
Well, here is a more detailed look of our previous sentence. The determiner is the noun is cat, the verb is likes, the noun phrase is green eggs and ham, the prepositional phrase is in a house with a mouse, and the adverb phrase is very much.
Now that we've learned about noun phrases and verb phrases, let's put both parts of our sentence together to make one really long sentence.
In order to show you how the order of words is so important, we will go over a new concept in the English language, the question rule. How do you turn normal sentences into a question?
Before we can start creating our sentences, we need to learn about a new part of speech called the auxiliary verb. The auxiliary verb is a helping verb, and it always comes before the verb.
Some examples of auxiliary verbs are should, can, be, and do.
Let's take a look at this sentence and see if you can spot the auxiliary verb. The Lorax does speak for the trees.
If you pick does as the auxiliary verb, then you are correct.
Let's go back to the question rule. If you want to change a statement into a question, all you have to do is move the first auxiliary verb, does, to the front of the sentence.
Now that we've moved the auxiliary verb does to the front of the sentence, we finally have our question. Does the Lorax speak for the trees?
Let's practice applying the question rule to another Dr. Seuss sentence. The Who's, young and old, would sit down to feast.
After applying the question rule and moving the auxiliary verb would to the front of our sentence, we now have our question. Would the Who's, young and old, sit down to feast?
Let's review what we learned about today in Seuss syntax. We learned about noun phrases, verb phrases, and the question rule.
Give yourself a big round of applause because you're on your way to becoming a syntax pro.